Welcome to Eclectic Soundtrax podcast with your humble hosts, Skunk Manhattan and Victor Ramos. We'd like to say a quick thank you to our friends at Tragan Guitars, Godan Guitars, Ernie Ball Strings, Five Iron Woodworks. On this episode, we chat with longtime musician and current guitarist of Blue October, Will Knaak. So sit back, grab some cognac, maybe some cheese and crackers, and enjoy the conversation. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Episode number 27 of Eclectic Soundtrax podcast. Tonight, we've got special guest, Will Knaak. How you doing, Will?
Doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right, man. It's been a quick minute since we talked, since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been a quick minute since I've seen everybody with the COVID shutdown, right?
Yeah. So let's see. Obviously, we haven't seen each other this year. Nobody has. I want to say, I played with you and Ernie at Backstage Live, right? Is that what the El Mercado joint, right?
Right, yeah.
And that was, I want to say that was like April of, 2018, I think. When did you join Blue October?
That sounds right. At the beginning of 2018, yeah.
And I think you had just joined them and you were about to go on tour a few weeks after, maybe even the following week after I played with you guys up there.
Yeah, that sounds right. We went to Europe first and then I came home in March and then played a little bit with Ernie and then was headed back out in April. Yeah.
Cool, man. I already fucked up my recording, Vic.
Fun.
Fuck, whatever. Okay, so who cares? All right. Sorry, Will. What?
It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. Shit. I'm sorry, man. So we're trying something different here, and it's always a disaster. But yeah. And when was that before or after that you released your album and you played I think you played like a release show at Saxon Pub because I saw you there too.
Yeah, that was actually prior. That was probably a yearish before that.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, it was 2017 when I released that, the trio record, which was cool. It's just like getting back with the old homies, and we cut most of it live, especially the rhythm tracks. And my premise was, with those guys, we played from the time I was a teenager and we still play, but I'd say my mid 20s on and off regularly. So it was like riding a bike. But yeah, we went in the studio. And I was like, okay, we have 3 takes. If we don't get this song in 3 takes, we're moving on to the next one and we can come back. But I'm not going to sit down there and go in the rabbit hole of perfection. So we cut all the rhythm tracks to tape and just did it kind of old school like that, which was fun, rewarding. That's how that band plays anyway, is live. So
what studio was that?
It goes by King Electric and it's up north. It's owned by Justin Douglas. And he used to have Shine Studios on the east side, which is where I cut a solo record. First one I released, The Only Open Road. That's like from 2015, I think. And yeah, just it ain't broke, don't fix it. Good environment. But he moved up there. It's really nice. Good space, cutting room.
Yeah, I remember that actually, getting that from the one from you at Strange Brew, actually. I think we like traded albums that time or some shit. And
Yeah,
I remember that album. And yeah, that's cool, man. And so you guys, live and then just overdub vocals and guitar solos and whatnot kind of thing.
Exactly. Yep.
Like you said, riding a bike because you played with those guys forever. Like when we met at Giddy Ups in like 2005, probably somewhere in that area. Yeah, man, I remember you guys playing and you guys, like, my band at the time was pretty ridiculous and we were just all over the place, but it was a lot of fun and Nancy liked us and she loved you. But you guys were pretty eclectic too, man. You'd play a lot of the old, a lot of blues and country stuff, but then you'd play Chili Peppers. I remember you guys used to play War Pigs, and stuff like that. So I think we were definitely the anomaly bands there. But it was fucking
for sure
fun and it was cool. It was what I liked about that was the mix of people, man. You'd have kind of some of the old timers that love the old blues tunes and shit, but there was surprisingly enough, there was a lot of like young people came there and just dug it. It was actually a really fun kind of dive bar, and I had more fun doing that. I'm maybe same for you than playing 6th Street and stuff back then,
Yeah, absolutely.
And
it felt like home more, and it was a special time then. I guess it was before they opened, what's that, the Moon Tower,
right?
The super popular place. I guess there's even a South Austin beer garden down there now. I was driving by there, but yeah, before that, and just everyone kind of coalesced there, and like you said, a good mix of people, and that's what kind of made it special. It felt very South Austin, because the thing about Austin music is it's just like Willie, right? He brought them all together, the bikers, the rednecks, the hippies, like everybody's hanging out and jamming, and Giddy Ups was like that.
Yeah, I always thought it was cool the way those big time name people like James Cotton would pop in there all the time, and I don't know if Pine Top Perkins ever played there, but I remember you played with him. We're backing him one time up on like Nuno's or something on 6th Street. And I got up and played a tune with you that night too, but it was awesome because Pine Top was just like, dude, I mean, that guy lived until his 90s, right?
Right.
It reminded me of like Yoda in the Star Wars, like the late 90s, early 2000s Star Wars, where he's just like, this dude's fucking hobbling up on a cane and shit. And as soon as he sat down on the piano, it was just like, holy shit, man. And it was just like on, man, like legit. Those kind of guys, as soon as they start, you're like, oh, I see. Like, it's just like this next level jump of those old blues, blues.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is a good way to describe Yoda, Blues Yoda. I remember asking him, because I got to back him up a few times at Nuno's, because they would just bring him there. I don't know exactly what the connection was with the family that was running the joint, but they would bring him around and take him all over town and let him play, And so he would get up and do. They're like, okay, he's gonna do Chicken Shack, this and that, and do his thing. And he was smoking before, or on a set break or something. And I asked him, like, hey, Pine Top, when did you start smoking those things? He's like, I was 9 years old in Mississippi. My mama gave them to me. Wow. Keep me from feeling hungry.
Wow.
Like, damn.
He
lived to 95.
Yeah, man. Wow, that's something. I mean, shit, man. And so from when we met, I mean, and you like you said, there's like a Will Knaak Day, right, in Austin, like officially, like May.
May 24th, 2000. Yeah, I headlined Auditorium Shores when I was 15, and that was really like the first time I did a show that was my show, if that makes sense, where I'd played with some different people, and Johnny X and Alvin Crow would take me under their wings. I'd play guitar in different bands they were doing. Had a kid band, Redheaded Stepchild, when I was real young, like 13, through that Natural Air Music school, Lady Michelle. Yeah. But Michelle actually is funny, got me the gig through Ginger Durawa, who was Ernie's wife, and she ran the musicians union, right? And so she booked me for the gig. And then I was sitting in with the Tejana Dames at Warro's, and Kirk Watson was there, and Michelle told him I was playing the gig. He's like, well, we got to make it Will Knaak Day then. So it all just kind of happened. And I really think when I look at that, it was the difference of playing for small bars to a big kind of anonymous crowd. There's over 5,000 people there. And I just remember the energy was something that I knew at that moment, I was going to be chasing that, like that, because it's like you black out, when you get up there and play, and you just can play your best, because you lose sight of self-consciousness, right? And whatever that was that day, I remember I was ruined for anything else. So I was already flirting with dropping out of school, but that year I never returned. And when I was eligible to take a GED, we just said I was homeschooled till I was able to take a GED, and just started playing gigs and more and more gigs. I mean, I was already doing it, but just like that was it, like Full Tilt Boogie.
Yeah, you're on mute.
I'm having real struggles here today.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, full on since like you said, 13, and that when you were 15 was when you played that gig in that really changed, that you knew that then for sure, like you were a musician chasing that from then on out? Hold on. Damn it. Okay. So, well, yeah, dude, you've played with so many fucking bands. Like when I met you, when you did, was that gig, was that with Silas and Vinny?
No, actually, it was with Rusty Traps, who played with like W.C. Clark for a long time. And they had this other guitar player was playing rhythm guitar, and he taught me a lot. His name was Will Indian. And then David Carroll on bass. He played with Billy Joe Shaver for a long time, Alvin for a long time. Will taught me a lot, him and Johnny X. So, when I was young, I would sit in with their band, the Nortons, and they all dressed up like Ed Norton. So I was like, there's pictures of me at the Hole in the Wall playing with those dudes when I was 12, wearing a vest and a little goofy hat.
Please
and looking like
you have one of those so we can use it for our podcast photo.
Yeah, I do. No, I do. I'll send it to you. I posted it a while back. I'm sure I can find it on Facebook if it's not on my computer. But yeah, and those dudes, it kind of got like they would teach me a surf instrumental and this or whatever, and I would get up and play with them. And I guess they noticed that people tipped more if they got the kid to play Johnny B. Good behind his head. So then they started hiring me for gigs when Will or Johnny couldn't do it, and it kind of just happened naturally like that. And it's not that I even knew more than what they kept showing me. I learned the vocab by watching them and then learning the songs, and I didn't know what I was doing. It was just naivety, really. But I'm glad I had them. Didn't even know what I was doing yet, had the opportunity to put it in application right away. So it kind of meant something. And it really, you can sit there and practice all day, but until you get up on stage and do it, it doesn't count, right?
Totally.
So kind of forged in the fire by those dudes by just getting thrown in the deep end and like, hey kids, swim. And I remember, waging war with myself. Like one time after playing, like wanted my dad to just take me home because I felt like I had played bad, like I'd played when I accidentally went down to A when the song was in B flat. And, if I was able to record it and like watch however it recover, it's not like I played the whole song in the wrong key, but just those, you miss 2 notes or whatever. And you just, it's terrible. It's the worst. Don't even look at me.
Most
and
of the
so
time
even
see the video, it's not as bad as you thought either.
Yeah, actually, Jerry Garcia talks about some stuff like that where he's in his head having the worst show of his life, and he listened to the tape back, and he's like, "Wow, I was actually playing some cool stuff because I was struggling. I ended up playing something different to recover from it, and it was cool. It was good." But yeah, you can't judge yourself. So, but that being said, too, that's a thing that you learn in that moment is how not to objectify or judge your performance as you're doing it. You can't be objective and create in the same space, right? So Johnny X was always a perfectionist and always getting down. I'd watch him be like, it just wasn't that good tonight. And he would like bust out a screwdriver and start jacking with his truss rod mid song.
Wow.
Like I got to see not to take it to that realm. I still have that tendency in me, but I know how to just try and forget about it and move on. But it's like I feel like I remember my worst moments longer than my best moments. I forget that when I'm just playing great, right?
Oh, I can definitely tell you all my worst gig moments, like they stick with you, like fuck, like. But I think that's another thing too about like sometimes just knowing a professional musician, and sometimes it's not even how they played, right? It's the way they carry themselves, like whether even when you're struggling and to perform through it, and then when you're done, you always can tell the guys that oh no, I sucked, oh shit, as opposed to the guys that are just like, oh thanks so much, appreciate it. You know what I mean? It's just like you kind of have to just go, you're the performer, not everyone else knows everything that went wrong and that your tone was weird and all the struggles you were having in your head. To them, they were just having a great time watching the show, and you were the badass guitar player,
Yeah, if they come up to say they enjoyed it, definitely just say thank you, thanks. Yeah, they don't need to know all that. And it just kind of does them a disservice. Like you're telling them they're liars. Like,
yeah, no, you're right.
No, it wasn't good. Here's why, you idiot. Like that's not right. That's not a way to be a human.
Right. No, yeah, you got to learn that to kind of separate your own head space, what's going on there from who's actually watching you and getting something positive from what you're doing, regardless of what you went through on stage in that particular experience. But I mean, from that time, and when I met you, were playing with Knaak Attack. When was that official thing? When did that start in that lineup? When you start playing with those guys that you've played with on and off for years now?
Yeah, well, let's see. Knack Attack kind of started the year after the Will Knack Day thing. So I was like 16 or so, and I started playing every Tuesday night at the Hole in the Wall as Knack Attack, and every Sunday night at Trophies for a while, which is now Sea Boys, right?
Yeah.
But that was originally with Rusty Traps, who was from the Nortons, and then Jason Crow, Alvin Crow's son. But you know, played with those guys, and I was still growing and learning, and they were just in a more, both of them quite a bit older than me, and some jaded aspects. You know, I love both of them. We're all good, but there was just some weird energy, and they would take out their frustrations on me and people that are drinking a lot. I remember I broke a string and I didn't have a second guitar, and it took me, you know, a few minutes to change a string in between sets. And that night in the alley, like Rusty Traps threw his beer bottle down. Why do you not have an extra? We had them. We lost some of the crowd. Like, what the? And I'm like a 15 or 16-year-old kid. Like, okay, well, I brought another guitar every other gig from that, you know. And so I started learning redundancy, and I get those lessons, but I don't know that that's the way you I'm not going to throw a beer bottle down someone, but you know, I also know what alcoholism is like. Anyway, I'm kind of losing my train of thought there, but basically with those guys, it just wasn't the right fit. So I met Silas when I was 17, and he started playing some shows with me. And then we played with this guy, Hugh Fidel, which is kind of like a Southern rock, Black Crowes, Allman Brothers kind of vibe band. And I met Vinny, who was playing drums. And then so we started doing shows with Vinny instead of Rusty. And so about 17, I'd say 17, 18, that lineup clicked. And anytime we've done a Knack Attack show, it's been those guys. I mean, we haven't played super regularly for easily a decade now, if even more. I think it was really the main crux was from 18 to about 23, because Vinny and I were doing the Bill Ham thing. And then when that kind of separated, everyone kind of, I don't know, like to pay your bills playing music, I just had to go a bunch of different directions at that time, you know. But yeah, so 18 to now still, I mean, played a gig like 2 years ago or a year and a half now at Giddy Ups as a reunion thing. So
yeah. Did you and I remember you were teaching at the what's it called, Natural Ear School, right?
Yeah, Natural Ear Music.
Did you go there when you were younger too at all? Or I mean, I know your dad is a musician. Is that kind of where you started learning, or when did you start playing, and what was your initial training before you started like gigging at a young age?
I got you. So my dad, yeah, he always played like ragtime piano and Beatles tunes. He played some guitar, and my uncle played, and they would jam together, and I'd see that all growing up. But you know, I was all into sports, and then we had a house fire, right? Our house burned down, and my mom actually died in that fire. But they moved us, my dad and I, to an apartment complex across town while they were fixing our house, right? Insurance did. And so all summer I was separated from my friends, who normally I'd be out playing basketball, football, running around, riding bikes, doing what kids do, right? But I was basically locked in an apartment off of Oltorf with a guitar. My dad goes to work, so I could play video games, which I liked, Japanese role-playing games and sports games, or my black Strat. So I started playing my black Strat, and you know, my dad showed me some stuff. Initially, my uncle did. I would learn some stuff by ear too. But a lot of my dad's buddies would come over and smoke joints with him, and they would teach me. Like, I remember that's how I learned the Hendrix chord and learned how to play Purple Haze. His buddy Ronnie Ditmar, who was a friend of my brother Tim's, came over. They came over to get high and hang out, and that's how I learned how to play Purple Haze. You know, so it was some of that, and then we were kind of just going out. We were going to the Broken Spoke a lot, and there was these bands over there that let me sit in here and there. And then Michelle saw me play one night with them, And she left a flyer about a kid band needing a lead guitar player. That's how I met Michelle's from Natural Air Music. She goes by Mike Murphy now. She was also the mayor of Liberty Hill, and she's a very strong personality and awesome. I love her. She introduced me to a lot of people that helped forge my career. But yeah, she did that. I joined the Redhead Stepchild thing, and then she got me with Johnny X and Alvin, and so I went to some of the Natural Air stuff. And then I was in her, I guess, flagship band at the time, Redhead Stepchild, which went on all year. And that went, yeah. So she hooked me up with Johnny and Alvin, who taught me a lot, and a bunch of those guys. So I'm grateful for her. But yeah, then I did transition into teaching in my late teenage years. I did that on and off till 23, and then I was a drug addict, alcoholic. I guess I still am, right? I've just been sober a few years. I definitely had some moments while I was teaching playing, and I couldn't manage all that. And I remember I went to her, told her I had a problem, and she had to let me go, which, sucked at the time, but I kind of get it. Like, it is what it is. Strung out on pills, strung out on other stuff. And arguably going up and teaching lessons, like, nobody needs that around, whether I'm asking for help for it or not. Like, so there was actually, it kind of sucks to talk about, but 2 times I was 19 and stopped, and I, kind of got some stuff together again, came back for a couple years, but then by 23, it caught up to me again. And then I just went full on tilt, just playing gigs. That was it. But it was good I enjoyed teaching. And it was nice that she worked around my schedule of gigging and stuff. And I learned a lot from her, and I learned a lot from all of them. Things to do and not to do. I don't know that a lot of older musicians that I played with when I was a kid would, smoke dope with me when I was 15. I don't have to name names or whatever, or drink with me before when I was a teenager, and I wouldn't want that for me or a musician I met like me now. But it is part of the story, and ultimately, I'm 36 and I'm like 6 years sober. I had 2 years prior to that, but had a 2-week slip. But learning things still. But have some real sobriety right now, and I don't know that I'd be sober at this age if I hadn't been introduced to it at an early age and it caught up to me. Or so, yeah, I guess that's a little personal. I don't know where to go with that or where I was even coming from, but learned a lot what to do and what not to do, but learn the real way in the bars. And
yeah, man. No, I mean, well, congrats on being sober, dude. 6 years. That's amazing. I think I went for, same thing. I think it comes with the territory sometimes when you're out at bars all the time and you're playing and you're around shit all the time. And, it's weird you saying that about you being a teacher and then going to work and when you were playing gigs really young, right? Like, and being around that shit. It's funny because I wasn't playing gigs that young, but my guitar teacher, I used to hang out with and get into bars with when I was like 15, 16. And a lot of those same experience. The first time I got drunk, the first, and all those things. And it's kind of like, I look back on that as a teacher now with like students that are 15 that I have, huge mutual respect for and all this. And it's just like, that's weird, man. I think it like, that was weird that I was like hanging out with my guitar teacher, like getting, whatever. But like, I think, and then it takes a lot. And I think sometimes it unfortunately takes some really, bad things happen, right? That opens your eyes and makes you go, shit, I got to put this down. I got to stop. I'm not sure what your experiences are, but I certainly have had that, and for the better. And I mean, I quit drinking for almost 2 full years completely, couple of years ago, I guess. And then now it's like, I feel like it's very comfortable and I can have a beer and stop. And it wasn't like that for a while, And so, but a lot of people, it's like, unless you can get to that place, you got to stay off of it, man. So that's great. Cause I know, man, I mean, shit, dude, we all used to fucking party. I've seen
right.
The day,
no harm, no foul, but yeah,
I lived through it. Now you're sober. I think nowadays, right. You're on the road a lot. You're a full-time musician we'll talk about a lot of the stuff you do and have done. But also congrats on the family, man. And on your, is it a boy or a girl?
A little girl named Nova Knaak. She's like 8 months. Coming up here in a couple days.
That's great,
and
man.
Emily, I'm blessed to have both of them. She couldn't be a better mother. It's really amazing to watch them together. And I actually was wound up out of town camping, and I missed them so much. Yeah, our violinist, pardon about the Friday thing, but yeah, he invited me and I spaced. I was already like way out of town when I got your text message. But
yeah, all good, man. But you know, the one calling it a silver lining, I don't know, maybe the one thing about this whole COVID thing with 2020, I mean, I would think that you would probably have been on the road and stuff a bunch this year, and because of all this bullshit, you've been able to like really stay home, I'm assuming, and having some real genuine time with your daughter the whole first year of her life, which that seems, you know, a silver lining. That's pretty amazing, right?
It is. Yeah. I don't know if I would have been able to bond the way I have with her without having this much hands-on time and the distractions of the road being there. Whatever, you know, you can play devil's advocate either way, but it is what it is. And I've seen that is the blessing, is being able to be here. And it's undeniable. You know, I hadn't felt homesick like this ever, maybe, you know, like I was just leaving for 2-3 days there. And oh man, and you see her face and it just like it hits you in a different way. But yeah, being home this year, that's really the only silver lining that you can't take. And it is a huge one. The guys were kind, you know, they knew the due date, and they kind of, the manager worked to finagle the tour around some deals so I could at least be home for the due date. And then I was literally going to be on tour, come right home a few days before the baby was born, hang out for a couple weeks, go back on the road, and pretty solidly for like 2 months, and come home and have a little bit of more time off then. But I mean, even then, yeah, 2 months right at the beginning of her life, you know, before it happened, it seemed like, oh, it's just 2 months. Like, what happens in 2 months? But you see how a baby does in 2 weeks, much less 2 months. It's such huge monumental changes. It's been great to see all those important firsts, and there's still more to come. And you know, we're not looking at probably getting back rolling till July at the earliest right now. And you know, anything can happen, but that does seem feasible with the way things are headed. And so yeah, we have some stuff slated, but yeah, she'll be well over a year by the time I even have to leave, which that's huge. You know, I've seen a lot of those firsts. Started to be talking a little bit and walking and yeah, being crazy.
So what was the last tour you actually did? Did you what was the first tour you did when you joined Blue October? Was it went to Europe right away, or?
Yeah, it was literally, yeah, just straight to Europe. Like, okay, let's go overseas. So
was that your first tour overseas or no?
It was the third time I'd been overseas. I'd gone before, just to Switzerland and France. So I got to see more of it. This time I got to see Holland, Germany, and a bunch of the UK. I feel like there might have been one. The next European tour where we hit more countries out, we went actually a bunch west and did. As the following year, went to like Prague, which is probably the coolest city I've ever been to, and we did Poland and some other Czech Republic stuff. We did, and on the way to like Kiev and even Moscow was the last date of the tour, which was crazy, man. Going to Red Square and stuff, seeing the Tetris building. It's funny that in my ignorance, I always thought that the Tetris building, which is St. Basil's Cathedral, I always thought that was the Kremlin. I think a lot of Americans do, but they're right next to each other. But the Kremlin is just a, you know, square military type building looking thing, and real drab. But the colorful, you know, multi-piered or, you know, multi-towered, the Tetris building, you know, that one, that's St. Basil's Cathedral. Yeah. And it was really cool to see that. I was really excited.
So Prague, that was your favorite. Any other particular cities that you've been to, either here or abroad, that have just been like your absolute favorite places you've been touring?
Man, Prague was just so cool. Just the architecture, and there's this bridge there, and we walked to like a castle. And I think the first day we were there, we had an off day, which was nice. Because when when you're on tour, you're just like running and gunning on the bus, off the bus, and you had to like really work yourself to be able to sightsee at all. And having an off day, they're not always in the greatest places. Like you hope your tour manager doesn't leave you in some desolate truck stop somewhere, which happens sometimes. Like you're in the middle of Missouri at a Motel 6, the bus is parked at a Fairfield Inn, and there's nothing around. But yeah, we had that off day in Prague, and so I think we walked 18 miles that day. Like it was, I can't remember what it was. It was close to that. Like we were just out all day checking it all out, and so we got to see a lot. It just really really cool, beautiful city. But I like a lot of the UK. You know, I was always a Tolkien fan, so got to go to where Oxford University is, and see that because he that's kind of the area that he wrote all that. And I think he was a linguistics professor at Oxford or something. So just seeing some of that countryside, you're like, oh, that's what he was seeing when he wrote Lord of the Rings. And we got to go to Bath, England, and record a little bit at Peter Gabriel's studio, and that was very like a Tolkien type village type thing. As far as the States, I like the West Coast a lot. I like the Portland and Seattle. I guess, I went to see Kurt Cobain's house when I've been there, and I've been out that way quite a few times, but this last time, the last time I was out there, I got to see Kurt's house, drive by the place he Blues Brothers at. He was one of my first big heroes. But also really love Chicago. I love deep dish pizza and the blues. So, I mean, how are you going to beat that? Got a friend with the Cubs organization, got to go into Wrigley and stuff and throw the ball in the field and hit some balls. He's a talent scout. He's a real nice dude, but that was pretty cool. Yeah, I could think of a bunch of things I like about a bunch of places, but those are just a few that hit right off the bat thinking about it. So,
yeah, Seattle, man, I've always resonated with the West Coast and the Pacific Northwest, kind of San Francisco up. I just love the culture and so much music that's come out of there. I mean, Seattle's insane, from Hendrix to Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, in Hendrix, is his grave up there?
I believe so. I don't know that I saw it, but yeah, I mean, he's the boy from Seattle, right? So,
oh yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Vancouver, you played up there?
Yeah. When we do Seattle, we usually try and have a sister date somewhere in Vancouver because you're already up there. So
I'm yet to be up there, man, but I hear that place is really cool.
It is cool, man. I really didn't get to spend a lot of time there when I've been, but Canada seems cool. Ryan and I, the violinist, we were eating Chinese food, and this homeless dude walks in, and he'd just been begging for money outside. People give him enough, and he walked in and he ordered this meal, and she said, that'll be $7.50, and he's like, how about $6.25? It's like, okay. I've never seen a homeless person barter for their meal, but in Canada, they're so nice, they'll let you pay less.
They're great.
It's $6.25, eh?
Don't worry about it. I was so excited when I finally got to go up to Canada and in Toronto in that area, and then kind of down into Wisconsin and just waiting for someone to really have that accent and say those phrases and I was just like, yes, it happened.
I win.
Do it. Say a boot. Goddamn Americans.
No wonder they won't let us in.
I mean, we are as United States citizens. We just flat out call ourselves Americans anyway. Canada, that's something else. You're not Americans.
Right. What were you say, Victor?
No, I was just laughing because it's all true. Yeah. You go up there and you listen to the little accents of boot and what are some other ones?
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry.
Or listen for hey pal, hey guy, hey friend.
Sam Squanch. You got to watch some Trailer Park Boys. That'll get your
yeah,
up to par.
So I wonder how many people's iPhones start dinging when they're apologizing. Siri. Oh, Siri thinks she's being called by the Canadians, right?
Yeah, they had to change the service entirely up in that country.
I'm sure. I bet they love COVID. They don't have to let us in at all.
Like, yeah, for real.
We didn't want to let y'all in. Now they definitely aren't coming in.
Finally, these arrogant douchebags aren't going to come up here and make fun of the way we talk as we're fucking nice to them. Was that Blue October that you toured up there? Or, I mean, so tell us about take us back before Blue October, which is your main gig now. Obviously, I mean, you've played with so many different people. Who were some, kind of take us back, who were some bigger acts that you played with and toured around with?
So, you know, initially when I was a kid, Alvin Crow, he was a Texas Music Hall of Fame fiddle player, you know, and he played with Doug Somm. He was in the Sir Douglas Quintet. And he actually got offered to be in the Texas Tornadoes, but he turned it down because he wanted to stay doing what he was doing and stay at home, raising his family. He knew that it was going to just take him a different direction. And Alvin, you know, found a really good racket at the Spoke where played twice a month, and he makes a lot of money for himself there. You know, he's been doing it a long time. I don't know exactly what the number is, but the club ain't taking much. And, you know, you pay your musicians $253 bills and walk out with 10 grand, do that twice a month. Like, why are you going to leave town? Like,
wow.
I don't know that I would.
Was the Sir Douglas Quintet, Ernie was that too, right?
Ernie was in the Tornadoes, so he knew Doug from when they were kids. Yeah.
I've seen the Tornadoes still even play here and there. You know,
they I guess they're not playing as the Tornadoes anymore because of Sean, but they call themselves Tornado Legends, and they do Augie and Flacco. But I mean, who knows? I hope they do come back and play more after COVID. But yeah, Alvin. Then I got into working. There was this girl, Angela Peterson, who Bill Ham, he was the producer manager of ZZ Top for 37 years. He was working with her. And so he recruited a bunch of dudes to play in a band for her, and we got to do a bunch of touring, opening for like Brad Paisley, Toby Keith, Diamond Rio, which was like a famous 90s country band. Dierks Bentley was coming up at the time. And then we played a bunch of stuff with Pat Green and all those Texas guys. But, you know, with Bill, he paid us to practice and made us practice all. It was like a full-time job, you know, so different. And I think, you know, there I kind of learned how to use the in-ear monitors, and it was the difference of playing, you know, really big productions versus what I had been doing, which has been more loose bar gigs, which I love. But it is a little bit of a different skill set. You know, it's like you need to repeat this song that way every freaking time, and you're playing to a click track, and you're playing, you know, just so many different elements that I had been used to. So I feel like, you know, I was like 20 when I joined that band, and was doing that from 20 to 23. And yeah, Bill and Angela, without getting into the nitty gritty of it, and God rest Bill's soul, but they basically had a falling out. And so it just never coalesced any further than that. But learned a ton from the dude and that experience. And then I guess I played with Pauline Reese. She's a long time, you know, Texas rodeo girl. But then I started playing with Skid Row's singer at the time, Johnny Solinger. And he's not with them, but he was with them for 14 years after 15 years. I don't remember exactly, after Sebastian Bach. And, you know, did that for a bit, for about a year or two. Then it was a Statesboro Review. They were a Southern rock band. And I remember I got the call, and Johnny was just about to go back on tour with Skid Row. So his stuff was freezing up. And they're like, we're doing a record with David Z, who he's the dude like discovered Johnny Lang. He did that Storyville record, a bunch of Buddy Guy stuff, a bunch of blues stuff. And I guess he's famous for some Prince records that he did, drum sounds on. He's like, I'm trying to remember the tune that it's those cheesy 80s drum sounds. But yeah, they're like, hey, we're doing a record with David Z. You want to come in and play and just see what happens? And so I went and played some slide guitar on the album. They're like, hey, you want to get on a bus for the next month and head up to the Midwest in Colorado? And I was like, okay, I guess so. And so I've had a lot of those things happen, which have been a blessing, where like one thing's kind of drying up, but another thing presents itself. And the good thing about that, I guess I was just willing to like try a bunch of different things, though, because everything has been varied and different. And when you've got to pay your bills playing music, you learn to play all sorts of different styles, you know. But yeah, Statesboro went on for a while, and then God, what was it from there? Oh God, what a
in a couple kind of bigger Texas country acts touring for a while. Was it Wade Bowen or?
Yeah, no, it got there. Wade was the gig I was doing before I joined Blue October, and then doing some stuff with Randy Rogers too, because they have a record that we did all together. It was actually, yeah, it was like number 3 on the country Billboard charts, and Lloyd Maines produced it, and I love doing that record because we all just cut as a band, and a lot of the solos that I did on it were honestly like the take, if that makes sense, which was kind of cool. Like we were just throwing ideas, and there was some stuff we'd go back and Lloyd would want to like do a harmony on or work out a part. But yeah, he just kind of like, hey, this is the vibe. Let's play like a band, you know? And that was a really cool record to be a part of and tour. There's Nova, if y'all can hear, y'all start hearing the baby ringing out. But yeah, so Wade Bowen, great dude, love him. It was hard to tell those guys bye. You know, me and Todd, his other guitar player, are real close. We actually played in Statesboro together. But it was just a move I had to make. And you know, Justin from Blue October is sober. And the other dudes, there's a lot of sobriety in that camp too, which kind of fits more with my lifestyle as opposed to dudes drinking till 3 a.m. on the bus.
Right.
One second.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, you got it. I just want to make sure Noah was okay. But yeah, after Statesboro was Tyrone Vaughan for a little bit, who's Jimmy Vaughan's son. He had a deal with this Canadian record label, and just they put us all on salary just to practice. And there was another time when like I just got a DWI and I spent all my money on a lawyer, and I was just like, this is it. Like I have no way out. And then, you know, 2 days later I get a call like, okay, here's a gig. But that went on for a bit. Then it was John Wolfe. He got signed to Warner Nashville for a bit when I was with him, and he did well, and he's still doing well. But I ended up leaving the band and got with Rick Trevino, who's like a 90s country artist who won a couple Grammys. And
sure.
Had some top 10 hits. And then it was Wade. So that's kind of the full progression so far, you know, with a bunch of different people in between. And through Wade, you know, I got to be on stage with Ted Nugent. We played this benefit concert every year. And so Uncle Ted came out and he played the national anthem. We played Cat Scratch Fever together. That was pretty neat. The rock guy, I don't know. Big Chris always liked Ted Nugent. I remember he'd always play me Stranglehold and stuff like that. But yeah, I got to randomly be on stage with so many different musicians too through Ernie, you know?
Sure, yeah. How long ago? I mean, that's something I guess you do, obviously not now with COVID, but when you're sort of off tour, right? That's kind of a running gig now with Ernie. You guys played at Strange Brew and then Backstage Live. I don't know if that's still a thing, but who does play with Ernie? I don't know.
No, I hear what you're saying. Sorry. I hope that you don't think the baby's dying. She's just, no, are y'all hearing it?
This podcast is gonna come out, and then like protective services are gonna show up at your house.
No, she's just teething. And
yeah, I got a niece right there.
Yeah, mommy's getting her though, but oh, it makes me sad.
The full Will Knaak experience right now, man. We're getting daddy Knaak.
You're getting it, man. No, that's there. She's calming down. No, I've been doing the gig with Ernie for, I mean, we're closer to 10 years than not.
Okay. I
think this would have been like, we'd be starting the 9th year here pretty soon, if not already in it. So I played, you know, I've been doing that since I guess I was with Rick Trevino is when I started playing with Ernie, or maybe it was even John Wolfe at the time.
Was that at Strange Brew or did that start somewhere else?
No, it started at Strange Brew. It was, so I don't know if you remember that band, the Whiskey Sisters, that Josh Z's wife had, and he was in a little bit. I was playing a gig filling in for them one day, and Ernie was at the gig, and he's like, "Hey, that was really awesome. and I just started doing an acoustic gig at Strange Brew. So Scott Ward gave us these drink tickets to give away. You get a free drink if you show up at the gig and have this, right? So Ernie showed up at the gig and brought like a little laptop snare, and we played a song. We played She's About a Mover, and then he got a gig there, and he asked me to play guitar for him. So yeah, it was Strange Brew.
Okay. Well, Lounge Side Records, is that the label there? Like, and that's what your first album's under, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Then that went to Backstage Live maybe like 3-4 years ago, I guess.
Yeah, when Strange Brew closed down.
Yeah.
Which is a real bummer. That venue was so cool. But
it was very cool, man. Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think I saw you up there. I've always liked your heart. I mean, you're a busy guy, and you're always kind of on and off stage. And I mean, way back in the day at Giddy Ups, I'd walk in and be like, yeah, beer and guitar, and let's go. And but it's like every time I've seen you, it's like you're zipping off stage of one gig to another gig. You know what I mean? It's always like been like that. So, yeah, it's cool to catch up, man, and talk with you, because I know you're always kind of in and out at those shows.
No, it's good to catch up with you too. I've always loved jamming with you, and I remember just seeing you walk into Giddy Ups, and even if me and Knaak Attack's playing, I'd just hand you my guitar, and maybe we'd set up another amp sometimes too. But yeah,
one of my favorite memories is I think it was a birthday party for Nancy. God knows,
a decade, I remember that
decade ago. Yeah, and I just walked in, and Will was like, dude, and like you just like handed me my guitar, and I'm like, oh, cool, I guess I'll start playing right now. Fun times, man, great times.
Yeah, what was that? The guy at the bar? Did he work there? Ted? Not Ted. Was it Ted?
Ted's a guy that did work there. Yeah.
Okay.
Ted was he did the open mic and used to always be up there. But there was Blue, and who was Blue's husband? Tom is Tom, and he used to run sound for a bunch of bands or something, or do stagehand or something.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what it was, but he was involved in production. Yeah.
Dude, I'm curious about your tats, man. Those are relatively recent, right? Any particular stories behind those, or what they symbolize? Or
yeah, in the last few years, I'd always wanted to get this one. Let's see. Right here, it's the Phoenix, and it was initially like it was going to be holding a broken guitar or something that was made of the body would be a broken heart, but the tattoo artist did a stone. But when I joined with Blue October, they are friends with this guy Tim Beck, who's like a world-renowned tattoo guy. He's in all the mags. Like, he's amazing shop in Peoria. And just, if you're gonna get, I guess the best thing about getting tattoos in your 30s is that you might make some good choices, right? So it just was kind of perfect how it worked out. And I've been thinking about it for 10 years, but just always been kind of hesitant, and didn't know the artist, but this made it like, it's just, okay, he's going to tat us all. Like, great. And then
it's going to be good, right? You're not taking a chance on who you're actually using.
Right. And the Phoenix kind of represents, that whole thing with my mom and the house burning actually being a real blessing. So it's like sometimes the worst things that life hands you end up being the best things. Because, if she had not have perished in that house fire, I don't think that I would have shifted towards music. And she definitely would have let me drop out of school and go play in bars when I was a kid. And, my dad was more of a hippie, and losing your wife kind of breaks you. And, I'm sure he made some decisions that people, I don't know, there's a lot of sane parents that would let their kids do what I did, but ultimately I kept pursuing it, and it really worked out. And I can't imagine not having this in my life now. So that's kind of what that symbolizes. And then, the addict in me, it's like, dang, getting tattoos was awesome. I want to get another one. So I got one for my granddad, and then got one for Alvin Crow. I got one for Johnny X, the guy taught me to play. It's a little rose with an X. This is my dad. You probably remember my dad.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's him as the Day of the Dead mariachi. And I got my gypsy woman.
George, right? Yeah.
Which is like, Emily always calls me a gypsy. And under here is a really terrible chicken scratch 1984 that is now gone and covered up, because at the end of a tour, we got these bunk life tattoos. But this it was impulsive and so I do have one bad tattoo, but it's covered up.
the Johnny Depp wino forever.
It was just, I don't know. It looked like a prison tat, and we later saw the tattoo artist's Instagram. There was a red rum tattoo, and it said REEDRUM, and they were posting like bragging about it. But it was the Bunk Life tattoo is terrible on purpose, but we all have it. And it was me and the sound man of Blue October that kind of came up with that one. But then also, I have an Emily Rose who's my partner and the mother of my child.
Awesome.
So, yeah, he's the Alvin Crow fiddle.
Very cool, man. Yeah,
cool. I think that's it. I want to get another eagle for my granddad because this one's cool, Carter. So it is kind of for my granddad, but my middle name's Carter. My dad's middle name's Carter. In World War II, there was a cat named Carter that was in a foxhole. My granddad, grenade was thrown at him. My granddad was firing the other direction, did not see it. This guy Carter just comes running, dives across, tackles him. The grenade explodes. Carter's legs are blown off. My granddad gets a little bit of shrapnel on his back, but his life's saved. Carter lives, but loses his ability to walk for the rest of his life. They did stay friends, but in that moment where he saved my granddad's life, my dad would not be born. So after the war, granddad came home, had a son, named him George Carter, and memory, and it's passed on. So, if number 2 ends up being a boy, which is what I'm pulling for, I'm going to name it, have Carter as the middle name. And if it's a girl, it's still going to have Carter as the middle name.
Right.
I'm just looking for Emily's reaction. I don't know. She says that's fine.
Okay, good. She says that now. She's like, I'll be nice.
I actually thought Carter would kind of be a cool name for a girl.
Not bad.
A girl named Carter.
Yeah, it's work.
Middle name doesn't matter anyway. No one calls you that, right?
Except your parents.
I wouldn't be here. Oh, your parents. Yeah, and then you're really screwed.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that's fucking amazing, man. That's an awesome story. That's like a real life. I mean, it doesn't end up with someone with a watch up their butt, but it makes me think of Pulp Fiction, the famous Christopher Walken scene in Pulp Fiction. You know what I'm talking about?
Right.
I'm talking about how this watch, you know what I mean? It's like the symbol of their generations,
Yeah. And just the idea that such a split second decision can not only affect your life, but lives for, like you said, generations. Just,
no kidding, man. I mean,
in fact, that one too, she wouldn't be here.
Right. Hell, man. Yeah. Well, you said something too about the addict in me and the tattoos. And you know what it makes when you said getting tattoos in your 30s, it's so weird for me because I still to this day don't have a tattoo, and I don't really have anything against tattoos. It's just, I'm just like, but I could see myself doing it, but there's just nothing that's like, oh, I have to get this, and, but I think it makes me think of James Hetfield from Metallica, right? Because remember, like, I don't think he ever had any tattoos. If he did, it was something subtle and hidden. And then I think he got sober. Was that right? Maybe around the time of all that tragedy, fucking Saint Anger stuff and all that shit. And then all of a sudden he was just like, tats was the new thing. And now that dude's like tatted everywhere. You know what I mean? It seems to make sense. Like I see that with a lot of people that kind of start, and then you start just like getting more and more. Feel like you're going to keep going, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have face tats at some point. I'm just kidding. But no, I already, it's like once you get one, you can't stop. It's like Lay's or Pringles. And it's funny, our singer Justin, all the dudes in Blue October are about 10 years older than me. But you can look back when he was in his early 30s, he didn't really have many tattoos, and then he got sober and he got lots of tattoos. He's been sober about 8 years now, so he's covered now.
Right. And
he says the same thing, once you really get into it, and then you find art you like. I found that I really like American traditional art. So, these roses are popular in American tradition. The Gypsy Woman's a popular thing. The eagle, Sailor Jerry type stuff, basically. And this isn't anything that's like complete it's just the style, you know, like if you're talking about a music style, this is the genre almost. That's how I look at the different tattoos. So I found kind of the genre I like, and then I can find different ways to use that to express what I want to get. But now that I found that, I think that I'll have something that I want to try and get the overall thing to still have a flow to it, you know, so it doesn't just look like a bunch of stamps, you know. So that's why I want to get like the eagle over here for my granddad now. So Carter and him will be flying on the same side. I got the roses there, the roses with the gypsy, you know.
Symmetry.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of feeling it and enjoying it. So yeah, I'll definitely get more though. I think I'm gonna try and just fill up my arms and fill up so I could still wear a regular long sleeve shirt and I wouldn't look like I had tattoos, but then just be covered if I want everywhere else, you know. I'm gonna start there, and then if I want a face tat, I was looking for Emily's reaction again. If I want a face tat after that, then get a face tat, you know.
Make sure you have your other child first.
Yeah, have my second child before I get the face tat.
Exactly.
So they're not terrified when they come out of the womb.
Well, just it might increase your odds of actually her wanting to have a second child with you.
Oh, he says it might increase the odds of you actually wanting to have a second child with me. Like, look at this one.
Free face tat.
Let's say hi, Noni.
Hey, it's our youngest guest on the podcast. Hey,
the youngest guest on the podcast.
Look at that future rock star right there.
It's little Nova Knaak, everybody. Oh, it's you. It's little Nova Nuggy New. That's her theme song.
What's going on? Oh my gosh.
Because I'm grumpy. I got teeth coming in.
Boy, so is she, I don't know anything about timelines, and they're different for different kids. Is she crawling yet? Not walking, right? But crawling?
She's not really crawling, but she's trying to.
The scoot thing, right? Or I saw my brother's son go through that. It's hilarious. And they're trying so hard, and the fist and the legs are moving, but they're not moving anywhere.
Exactly. She's got this little walker thing that she can kind of scoot around it. But yeah, she sits up on her own and she can roll over a lot. And she kind of like does a small crawl here and there, but no, not crawling yet. But will be sooner.
Oh man,
it's so weird.
It's going to accelerate, dude. Like, yeah, next thing you know, she's going to be running around.
Yep.
I know. That's it. Like once they've got it, that's it. It doesn't, it is just like exponential from there. It doesn't like, oh, it's not gradual. It's just, oh, I got it. Click, done.
And like you said, man, that's the crazy thing about the first year, 2 years or whatever. It's so much happens, you know, it could be a completely different, like if you were on the road for 2 months and you come back 2 months later, like, oh my God, like all of these things have happened in that short amount of time.
Yeah, that's what the guys all talk about. You know, Jeremy, our drummer, has the kids his kids are the closest age to Nova. And they were, you know, I guess Nora wasn't even quite a year when I joined up. And so he was going through all this and like he'd leave and then come back and whoa, it's a totally different person. Hey,
does one of those guys own is it Orb Studios, right?
Yes.
Bye, Nova.
Bye. Say bye.
Nice to meet you. You're awful cute. Nice little one.
Yeah. Orb, yeah. So the original guitar player from Blue October, and Matt, the bass player, own that, and Stevie's more like the investor guy, I guess, and Matt is the day-to-day. So our current bass player is pretty much, you know, up there all the time making that thing work and do what it does. So yeah, Orb's great. It's really the best. In my opinion, it's the best studio around Austin. So I've been working there a lot.
Yeah. I've
been working there a lot during COVID, especially. We've done a bunch of different records, and Matt's developing some artists, and so yeah, it's been cool. You know, you wear your mask and cut tracks, but it's been fun. It's been nice to at least be creative. Matt and I actually got to play at the same time on this one like industrial rock album. So that we would kind of cut at the same time. So it's almost like we're really playing.
Nice.
Like, whoa, I'm actually playing with somebody. This is amazing.
Right. You've been doing this your whole life since you were like 12 or something. And then like all of a sudden it's like, right. You got to have like withdrawals. Like, shit, I'm not playing gigs right now. What's happening?
This is the weirdest. Yeah. It feels like something's been amputated almost, you know? Yeah, I've never gone this long since I started without out doing it. I mean, we've done some live streams that, you know, that's different. It's just not quite the same. And it's definitely, it is what it is. I mean, I'll take whatever consolations I can get, but yeah, the withdrawals is real. Yeah. I miss it, man.
Orb, is that out there toward Dripping Springs? I think it was, I don't know which, maybe it was Matt that I had met at a function one time or something. And I remember hearing of that studio. This has been years, and I'm yet to be out there, but I've heard a lot about it. Is that out west, right?
Yeah, it's out west, like, you know, out towards where Collings is. It's a little closer than Collings Guitars.
Oh yeah, okay, cool.
So yeah, off 290 out just past the Y.
It's got like an SSL board out there, or is that still a thing?
Yes. Yeah, they have 3 rooms actually. The A room has the SSL, and that's the big dog. And then there's a B room that's it's still really good room. And the C room's a little smaller than that. But so, you know, they actually, you know, can have 3 projects going at the same time. And a lot of great equipment. I mean, tons of great amps, great guitars. I have some of my guitars up there too, those Burley guitars that my buddy makes. I have a couple of those hanging out that people can use when they're recording. And part of that's just I have too many guitars to keep in one place right now.
Well, I remember you used to always play, man, didn't it get stolen, right? You had a Gibson. I don't think it was a Les Paul, but something, and it got stolen, yeah?
Yeah, a gold top, a double cut Les Paul. And then I had that Lucille, the BB King Lucille. And those both got stolen.
On a tour or what?
Yeah, out of a trailer with Statesboro Review.
Sorry, man. Yeah, I've had some things stolen as well. It's heartbreaking. It's awful.
It sucks, man.
Especially something like that, because it's so personal. I don't think anyone who doesn't play and play at that level to where that's your life, you know, like can't possibly understand like what that means. And it's just such a shitty thing to take from somebody. You really are taking a piece of that person, you know?
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah, it sucked, man. I no words for it. It really, and I was pretty broke at the time too. So it wasn't easy to get those guitars back, man. Like it was just, I remember I was borrowing some guitars from people to play gigs, and because I needed a Gibson sound for that gig, it just wasn't, that was the sound that I needed for the slide that I was doing with that Southern rock thing. And so, you know, Gibson actually loaned me a Les Paul for a little bit. That helped. Some other people loaned me guitars. So I was just kind of like on some random guitars until kind of could have, there's a bunch of gray areas. I'll just say that. So wait, let's ask that question again.
What are your favorite guitars that you own right now?
Okay, thanks, guys.
What are some unique guitars you have, or some things that you have that are, you know, your absolute favorites that you play all the time, play at home, whatever?
So I have, you know, that's my old Telly that I got when I was 15. Playing with Alvin, I still play that one quite a bit. It's beat to shreds, man. Like
beautiful.
That's all just real wear, you know, not it's from like the pinky knob. So this one's hard to get away from, but it's been refretted by Ed Reynolds and re-radiused, you know, so it doesn't have the same specs as a 52 reissue.
Do you have any guitars like that it's sort of like this one stays at home, it doesn't go on the road anymore, or are they all? Yeah.
No, this is that one. And I think if, you know, I have a bunch of great insurance now, you know, that I've actually had to replace a guitar that was stolen. I had it happen again with an Esquire. But yeah, you couldn't give me, I couldn't replace this one. I have a PRS, you know, that Grissom helped me get, that has some sentimental value to me too. But honestly, and then my uncle's 59 Melody Maker that he left me. But other than that, I mean, it would suck to get I've got a Collings now. That would suck to be stolen. But I mean, insurance could possibly replace all those. But other than those 3 guitars, I think not. But play a lot of Burleys now. He makes some guitars. He actually just got a Plek machine that Joe Glazer helped him set up. So Burley guitars are about to go even next level.
Oh wow.
And then yeah, that Collings is great, man. For acoustic.
You know,
Yeah,
Will Knack's signature guitar, man.
Right. Who knows, man?
Yeah,
I don't know what it'd be. It'd probably be a Tele type guitar.
That I could finally buy my Telecaster. I'd be like, well, I have to buy it now. I'm ashamed I don't have a Telecaster. I love Teles too.
I'd have to just give you one, man, if I actually had a signature guitar. But
even better. Please get a signature guitar, Will.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, the Burley guitars, I would check him out. A lot of people won't know. Berly.
Okay, for sure. What are some? I mean, I'm sure Blue October's just got a ton of endorsement deals and companies that they work with and all that. Like, what are some companies that like strings and guitars and stuff that kind of come through that? Anything particular?
So even since before Blue October, I've been endorsed by D'Addario, and I just kind of had to be like a squeaky wheel, man. And finally, Wade, we played on Conan O'Brien, and I sent an email to the dude before that show, and it's like he finally took me seriously for whatever reason, or maybe he just wanted me to just shut up or something. But like every time I had something cool that was going on, I'd try and be like, hey, blah blah blah, doing this still. And I wrote, basically just saying like I had this Kurt Mangan was going to give me a string deal, or I could get something. There was another string company, Wade. I think I could have gotten some through him, but I was like, I wouldn't play those strings, so I'm not going to accept that. And I would love for you guys to consider me. But so D'Addario was the hardest one for me to knock down, but I've been with them for a while, and I mean I've been playing their strings for 20 years. So whether I had to pay for them or not, screw it.
It's funny how hard strings are to get a string deal, right? It's weird.
It is. Celestian speakers that came through Wade right away. Rick Skillman's a big Red Dirt Texas country fan, and he's like the rep for Celestian speakers for US. So it's funny. He was hanging out on the bus on a show, and he had a couple in him. He's feeling kind of loose, and he's like shows his phone. It's like there's Eddie Van Halen's number, but he just like takes it away like damn, dude. There's Slash's number. He's just kind of bragging, but I mean, I get it. Like okay, so you're
all these motherfuckers, yeah,
because everyone plays Celestian speakers, and you're the only guy in America to deal with. You're the guy. Yeah, I almost like look at my website now. But I was pretty good about posting all those. PBG, I had to deal with them for a little while, which is like Fano guitars and 2 Rock amps, but those companies have kind of changed too. But I do have those products. I like those. I like using my 2 Rock in town. I have a Fender deal that I got through Blue October. Gibson, I have a guitar from them, a 335 that I've been playing since Wade actually. So yeah, it's a cool 335. Collings, I'm a Collings artist. That's the most recent thing. And they helped me get into this really nice D1A.
These guys are here, yeah.
Yeah, they are. And it's
pretty right? It's good stuff. Yeah. It's pretty like scale. Like, yeah. All like these guys build them here, like, right?
Yes, they carve all the wood, everything. Like it's all made here. Yeah.
I actually think I met those guys randomly. Like
that was Nova.
Just tearing shit up.
No, it's okay. We love it. Little Maggie. But yeah, no, all handmade. Yeah. So you're saying about it?
Yeah, I feel like I actually randomly met a couple of those guys here, just like at an apartment, like one day, and started shooting the shit with these guys outside because I was walking with a guitar or something. We started talking. I'm pretty sure that was the company and that they were some of the guys that worked there, and I haven't been over there to check them out, but I should.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess now you can't do a tour of the factory because of COVID, but they were always like about that, So even before I ever got the guitar, I went out there a few times and kind of flirted with some electrics, but I mean, acoustics, their flagship. So I finally got a great acoustic guitar, and Yeah.
That's great. When I finally do, I'll be like, oh yeah, I know Will Knaak. They won't remember talking to me, but I'll be like, oh yeah, Will Knaak's my best friend.
You can say that anytime, buddy.
He
might get you arrested, but
he said, hey, I could just come in here and grab any guitar I wanted.
Yeah.
Dude, I remember you used to play that AC 30, right? For years.
For a long time, man. That amp is probably the most played amp that I've ever, that's my amp. I haven't been using it as much lately, but it's all ready to go with some ripping new Celestians in it. And
of course,
it still looks all beat up because I didn't have a road case for so many years in the beginning, but yeah. So that's the House of Amp. I miss it.
I don't know what they stock those with. I mean, it's not like, is it the vintage 30 stock kind of thing? Or when you're dealing with Celestion now, do you get like specific, what do you like speaker wise? Or do you have any kind of specific stuff you get from them?
No, that's a good question. I've really fallen into the creamback world. So they have.
Love those, man. Yeah.
That's the one. Yeah. I tend to like the 75, which I guess just has a little more headroom. But the 65 sounds great too. So I have those two speakers are my main speakers. They're in both of my road amps with Blue October. Right now I'm playing, this is a new development too, but I actually don't have a deal with them. I'm talking to Rick about possibly, he knows them because he's probably, but Friedman amps. I picked one up used here in town.
Yeah.
One of the, because it's a stage volume thing. So it's a 20 watt amp, but it gets you that huge tone at 20 watts. We use in-ears, so I don't need a stack, and It's so weird how things have moved that way. Like, we played a show with, what's Panic at the Disco or whatever. And their guy was he had no amps on stage. There's a lot of bands that are doing that where it's like Kempers and Helixes.
Not the wall of stacks anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even if they do, they're dummies.
Is that totally
because the front house guy wants to make that vocal super clear, and the less noise you have competing, the more control you have. So, I mean, I kind of get it, but the one thing that you can't do is get feedback with those solids or with the direct thing. So you got to have a way to monitor it. And there is a bit of feedback surfing that I have to do with Blue October because Justin's a huge Idaho fan, and that's like a big component to the guitar player from that band's sound is what is feedback surfing, and he's really good at it. He'd put it like the amp up where he could get to it really easy. But I mean, if it's just coming through your ears, you're never going to get that. You might get stuff to sort of get there if you really gain it up, but you can't manipulate it, so you still got to have that. But I just have a deluxe and a Friedman right now with one has a 75 and one has a 65 in it. Creamback.
When I played with you and Ernie at Backstage Live, you had a little boutique. Was that a Friedman? You had something, and it was just like the shit. It was this tiny little lamp. You had the little, plexiglass little wall. And I remember. I don't know if you remember that I had a total fiasco because I had gotten off work and I got there late, and my buddy had taken an amp up there for me, but the knobs got all fucked up, and I plugged in, and it was just a disaster. And you were like, dude, turn it around, do that. And anyway, your sound was incredible, man. It was just this little amp. I don't know if that was what you're talking about, but that thing sounded amazing.
So that's the Two Rock that I was talking about earlier, the Studio Pro 35. And actually the shield that I get is just, I have an in-town board that I use. It's a pedal train case and it has some foam on it. And so I just set the case up sideways on it and kind of enclose it a little bit or block it as much as I need to keep the soundman from crying at me, so I can actually kind of crank it and get the tone I want. And I can hear it still, but it's not blasting people out front as much. So I think even when you do that, like whether it's really absorbing too much sound or not, like they think, oh, the guitar player's trying to work with me. Like, great. It's like gives them the idea that they have control, which ultimately I feel like sound guys, that's what they want, is complete control of the mix. And they're always dicks to guitar players. Guitar players are too loud always. It doesn't matter. I've had the experience like, oh, it's too loud. And okay, go over and pretend like I turned it down. Is that better? Yeah. Oh, much better. Yeah. What? You just proved it. Like you just want control. You just want that. I didn't change anything. And now it's great because you said so.
We'll cut all this out too. So when future sound guys are like, "What's that Will Knaak guy?" Don't worry, no one's gonna watch this.
You know what? Like, I hope they do hear it. But I'm all about compromising, but I don't want to compromise tone. So I've just tried to find ways, and that shields like that can help. If you have in-ears setting amps off stage, that's something I do with Blocktober. I'll set one of my amps off stage and just have one that I can easily go back and shake to get feedback.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Here's a funny story, man, that ties some things together. So you played on, and actually I remember when I saw you at Saxon Pub, you were like, "Oh, how's it going with Bull?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just played on a song." And then I ended up playing with him. So I've been playing with him for a couple of years now, but That's awesome. Yeah, man. And you did it's cool, dude, man. And you went in there and did the whole fucking Road Less Traveled record in like a day, which is amazing. In 2017, I think, right?
It sounds right, man. Yeah, whatever he had, I think some tracks. I wasn't on maybe everything on that record, but I was on a lot of it. Yeah,
you were on the. I don't know. I think they brought in someone. You played slide though too, so I think you were the primary. The only thing that I played on one song on that, and that was kind of my introduction. And the funny thing is like we had kind of talked, and I was just kind of like, whatever. And then you ended up doing that album, and then they ended up calling me in, and then after that I did a couple of singles and started playing with them. But where was I going with this? Oh, back to the sound guy thing, right? We did a gig last year or something. It was some kind of a award thing in Dallas, and it was they meant well, but it was a terrible venue. Like it was like a restaurant bar, and it was like right up against like some ice cream parlor. Some family friendly shit in a strip mall, and because they couldn't get the venue they wanted, and so they were trying to have this big thing where they had all these bands playing all day and all this shit, and they were freaking out because the people next door were complaining. So they were like, "Oh, we got to turn it down." I've never had this happen out of all kinds of gigs and bizarre things that have happened. Like we go into a song and like it's kind of got a lighter intro, and then you kick it in, and all of a sudden all the sound just went away, and like I'm like, what? I'm like doing a guitar solo and I don't hear myself. The fucking sound guy came up on stage and was turning our volumes down on the amps on stage, dude. We were just like, what in God's name is going on? The worst sound guy ever award goes to that dude. So
yeah, control freak much.
So the song is over at least, like, and then let's talk, but like, dude, anyway, yeah, but I've had to play some of your, I've note for noted a few of your solos, and some of them like, I'll just bullshit this one, but that's great stuff, man. I mean, you're a great player, so what can I say?
Oh, thanks, man.
Not going too crazy on that shit. It was manageable enough for me to get through it.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of the stuff, I guess I used to try and go for crazier stuff, back in the day, but it's just whatever fits the song, right? So it kind of like there's only so many ways to play it, right? I guess everyone has their own unique touch, but everyone always says that, right? Serve the song, but that's kind of how I try and approach things. And via that, like it does make you learn different styles. And like with playing with Ernie, it's like, well, I don't want to play just a blues solo over a Latin sounding song. So you start adding a harmonic minor inflections if it's a minor Latin tune, or, the style needs to be played correctly because that's what the song requires. So, that helps too with learning different genres, I guess. It's just, if you learn the song, then you know how to play that style now,
Who are some of your absolute biggest influences as guitar players?
Oh man. So locally, Johnny X, definitely just huge, and Will Indian growing up initially. But locally also, David Grissom, and I like Charlie Sexton, Will Sexton, and Doyle Bramhall is pretty amazing too. But I guess I'm less influenced by him than the other dudes because I just watch the other dudes actually play more. If that makes sense. So a lot of other players in Austin too. When Red was here, a lot of my country stuff inspired by Red.
Red is so amazing. Yeah, Red Volkart's the best.
You can't touch him,
dude. The craziest thing in the world about Red Volkart is he's the most finesse, beautiful player. Country, jazz, just perfection. And he's got the sausage fingers, man. I'm like, how the fuck does that guy do it? It's whenever I've ever had a student that's like, oh, but my fingers, I'm like, go watch Red Vocart. Fucking shut up. Like, it's nuts. Yeah. What do you mean when he was here?
He moved away. He is living somewhere out northeast or something.
Okay.
I don't quite remember, but yeah, he moved away. He's in Virginia, I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but yeah, he doesn't live in Austin or near Austin anymore.
Maybe to make
in the last 2 years too.
So you name some local guys. I'll just throw out some genres and just throw out some. So rock genre. Who are some guys?
Rock guys in Austin. I like Jim Ortiz.
Sure.
He was with he when I was young I met him. There's also another guy named Chris Burns who's like more like a punk rock guy. He worked at Bismo as an engineer for a long time too. And really I think you're one of the best rock guitar players I know in Austin, so we'll put you in there, brother.
Well, this sounds bad because it makes it sound like I was trying to get you to say my name.
No, you weren't though. You weren't. I just said it. No, man.
Very kind. I do have a story about you being, well, this was back in the Will Knaak drinking days. So that's why clearly you weren't in the correct frame of mind. I remember walking downtown one night and you were playing somewhere you were always playing. And I don't know what it was. And you came in, dude, you saw, and you just came and ran up and like jumped into my arms. And you were like, this is the best guitar player. And I'm in Austin. I'm like, man, this guy's really drunk right now. And then we like went over to like Maggie Mays or something. And you like hopped on stage with someone else and started playing. It was just like, I'm Will Knaak and I'm here and let's play. Let's go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Drugs are bad, okay? Cocaine,
yeah.
Whiskey, hell of a mix.
Your memory's flawed. Yeah.
Well, now he can hold up his phone now and say Skunk Manhattan and just like pull it away, right? Do that.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, and likewise, obviously, but like what about like bigger outside of Austin though? Like some just, guys that we all grow up with, legend guitar players, any blues rock particular guys that are just like, I mean, I know there are a zillion. I would never ask someone to name their favorite guitar player, but some maybe of your biggest influences, you think?
No, that's fair. Initially Kurt Cobain, so there's that, and then Hendrix, big time. Eddie, God, we lost the greatest.
I know, man. I know, and it's funny because I'm kind of ashamed. It's kind of embarrassing to say because there's the Van Halen party thing and the David Lee Roth. I never super resonated with it, right? So I don't know, like I was never the guy that went and learned all the Van Halen stuff. But I mean, I respect Eddie Van Halen, and of course, I know like a lot of their hits and a lot of their great songs, And ever since that happened, I started going back and listening through all these old Van Halen records and just going like, God damn it, man, you know what I mean? Yeah, no. I mean, you got these guys like Van Halen and Hendrix, and they've earned their status as the Titans, like it's well deserved that they are where they are. Thought of as they are,
Yeah, with those two guys in particular, it's the pioneering too, right? Like they've been emulated a million times now, but they paved a road that was super fiery and it allowed everybody to piggyback and really exponentially grow electric guitar. They really left a big mark that, if not for Hendrix, rock and roll would still sound like the Beach Boys rock and roll guitar. And then, Eddie just took it to a whole nother level that, wow, I don't know. To me, he's just the ultimate conduit. It feels like he can never do wrong, and it's definitely, it's him when you hear him. That's a mark of an artist. But
one thing about Eddie Van Halen too is like, and so many guys that I love, and it doesn't matter if they're playing fast or slower. And that's one thing about him too. It's like he could have these really melodic, simple solos. It wasn't always a big flashy thing. I would never call him a shredder, by any stretch. And he was very innovative, but there was always a soulfulness to his playing. You could tell that was playing and feeling guitar. It was not coming from a technical place, even though he was very technically proficient.
Right. No, definitely. My buddy and I, Chris Rankin, were talking about it the other day, but he was always, it's kind of like you're a Randy Rhoads guy of that era or you're an Eddie Van Halen guy. And he was always a Randy Rhoads guy. He's like, it's crazy because, I play more like just from the gut, like Eddie would, but here I love Randy. Randy's way more structured, shredder, like the super composed thing. And And yeah, it's just two different schools, but yeah, Eddie always had a lot of hooks too to his playing, and his rhythm guitar playing second to none. Like the stuff he's playing not in solos, like
oh yeah,
that's harder to do than playing the ending tap solo on Eruption. Like that's way easier than a lot of his rhythm stuff.
One thing that's so amazing about Van Halen too, particularly that old Van Halen stuff, is how unbelievably progressive they were musically. It was almost like a jazz fusion thing that they were doing sometimes, and then they had this, you know, crazy wild man rock and roller David Lee Roth, you know, party vocals over the top. But the music that was going on was like, wow, man, that was not like Kiss. You know, that was not like AC/DC. That was not simple rock and roll. That was like complex shit.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, Angus is another big one. You know, of course, you can't not be an American guitar player. You can't be a guitar player and not be influenced by Angus, or maybe you're just trying to be too cool. You're like, no, I only.
Don't get me started on the two cool guys that I don't like AC/DC. It's boring. And the Beatles don't do. Fuck off. If you don't like the Beatles, this conversation's over.
Yeah, you're absolutely
trying way too hard.
Trying way too hard. What's your favorite band? Oh, you've never heard of them. You know, that sort of thing. Okay, great. Well,
fuck though. Yeah.
You know, and more recently, you know, paying attention to guys like, and I guess the Edge for longer than that, but Robert Smith, you know, because a lot of what Justin likes, he was a big Cure fan, so I was like, well, let me check that. I mean, I know some of their hits or whatever, you've heard it, but I really like what he does with chorus and like a baritone style guitar. He'll play licks up high on a baritone and it has such a different tonality, and it's real subtle stuff. It's not fancy or flashful, but to get the tone and the feel just right is something that takes you have to actually immerse yourself with it. So that's been interesting. Blues guys though, you know, all the Kings. There's this one guy though who played with Bobby Bland. His name's Wayne Bennett, and he was kind of like a T-Bone Walker. He had a little more uptown to him, you know, a little swing, a little jazz in there. I really like his playing. And of course, Stevie Ray Vaughan, like you can't be from Austin and not. I'm just glad that I didn't like drown in the idea of like trying to be like him, because right. You know, it's ultimately never going to work. But you've seen that syndrome before, where it's like guys are trying to copy Stevie Ray to even wearing the hat like him, and you know, and maybe it's a reason it's not really directly, but I'm kind of glad I grew up playing tellies more. Like I switched from a telly really early to a telly from a Strat really early on, like within the first few months, because Johnny played a telly, so maybe the first year. But no, Stevie Ray Vaughan. Once again, you know, it's easy to take for granted how good he is because he's a legend, right? But when he was doing it, none were better.
I think that, you know, back to the Beatles thing, I think that's kind of why some people say that, because they probably just get tired of hearing it. But anyone who's really studied music, and if you've taught music or whatever, and you go dissect these songs and listen to these songs and learn these songs, you're like, Jesus Christ, this is all great. And you understand it, you know, and you understand that it is relevant. I think the same thing though, the way maybe it just gets like, it sounds so cliche, because I think Stevie Ray Vaughan can sound that way here. You're like, I get it, Stevie Ray Vaughan, everyone's Stevie Ray Vaughan, or the Hendrix thing. But it's almost unfortunate that can kind of like mar, and you're like, no, like put that aside and actually just go listen and remember, like they are that caliber, or were that caliber, like, you know, second to none for sure. It'd take me some time almost in Austin to kind of go like step back, and then, okay, now I can come back and listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan again. Hearing everyone try to play like Stevie Ray Vaughan for 10 years.
No, it's been the same for me. I think I was really heavy into it, and then had to drift for a while to come back to it, and then like, oh yeah. Jimmy Vaughan though too. I mean, I was slow to become a fan of Jimmy Vaughan, but when you see him, because it was like Stevie smokes him, you know, but that's not true.
Apples and oranges, though. Yeah.
Exactly. It's not true. That was young me. Old me seen him play with Flanagan, you know, that B3 trio, and the stuff he's playing, super tricky. Country guys, you know, Roy Nichols, who played with Merle Haggard, all those old Merle Haggard records, and the Johnny Cash stuff, but namely those Merle Haggard and like Waylon Jennings, Willie Nelson. Those are probably my biggest country guys. But Albert Lee is my number one country influence. He's a British guitar player. I learned a bunch of his stuff when I was a teenager, and that's my favorite country guy. Like the Western swing stuff. Bob Wills, Junior Bernard, played with him. Or I didn't play with him, but Junior Bernard played with him. I wanted to make that clear. I never played with Bob Wills. I didn't think I was alive. Love that music. I love combining how they have played the jazz stuff over a country feel, you know.
What about jazz or jazz fusion guys?
Yeah, there were moments that I got into some of that stuff, and you know, not as heavy, but so Joe Pass is one I really respect. I feel like I can't really do much of what he does. I can do some jazz chordal melody stuff, and I have worked on jazz a lot more. But you know, Pat Martino's amazing. Joe Pass. I did work on some Charlie Christian stuff. That's pretty, you know, everyone says to start there, but there's a reason because he kind of defined it, you know?
Right.
So yeah, for that, but you know, I like Parker and Coltrane. I've learned a couple of those tunes, and one of the hardest tunes that I worked through is All the Things You Are, which is like in 5 keys. I've done that more recently. A buddy of mine, JD Pendley, I took some jazz lessons recently from him. Well, you know, in the last 3 years, and it kind of got me into this idea of approach of playing jazz. I'll never be like a straight up jazz guy. Like, it's just, I'm not that interested in the music. But through playing with Ernie, I realized I was thrown into that situation, and I'd have to really study the charts. I would have to like really prepare. And I mean, these guys just come in there and do it. It's because they've learned the songs. And so a way I started practicing the songs that I learned, then I have a decent repertoire now, maybe, you know, about 20 standards that I can play really well, where you start out, you play the melody, then you comp, then you play a solo, then you play the melody again, and then you start over. So it's called a 4-chorus method this guy was talking about. So that way you're actually playing the song before you're like trying to solo over, because you played the melody. So you know like what the key little touches are. Then you played all the chords like you're comping for someone. So you know what rhythm is behind you. Now you're ready to play a solo. Then you play the melody again. In the song, you're playing music, not just looking at a chart and trying to improvise. And I think that was my mistake with trying to learn jazz before, as I was just kind of like trying to run before I could even crawl with it. And so make sure you know the melody and the chords, or else don't even try and take a solo.
I forget who it was. It's funny you say that, because it was like a documentary or something, and I don't know if it was, you know, Charlie Parker or something that young Coltrane did or somebody, where they got on stage with, you know, a group of guys, and they were just kind of hanging back, and then they took a solo, and the guy was just like, or kind of improvising, right? And that really, and then afterwards, the guy was like, do you know the melody to this song? And he's like, no, or, you know, I didn't know the melody. He's like, don't ever play, you know, don't ever jump on to a song that you don't know the melody. You know what I mean? Like, know that first.
Right. Which is surprisingly harder to do than you think.
Absolutely, man. I'm the worst. I can't play jazz guitar to save my life. I mean, for me, like playing a 9 or an 11 is, you know, I'm like, look, I'm playing a 13 chord. It's jazz, you know. Like, I did go through a period where I stumbled into met a guy randomly at a Steinway showing one time, and just got to talking and took some lessons from this guy named Esteban Alvarez, who's just a phenomenal pianist and musician in person, man. Just the philosophy, even sometimes, like a lot of guys. And dude, I highly recommend what I've seen from Steve Vai and online stuff. Sometimes he'll go live or he'll talk, and that guy, I get more. I mean, obviously everyone knows he's this great virtuoso guitar player, but I get so much more from his mindset and just his life philosophy, and that applied to music. And it's not even about the music theory. I get inspired from Steve Vai just from that, right? And so sometimes I think great higher level, so to speak, lessons or something in music are beyond even like we're talking about, you know, this scale and that kind of licks or whatever, right? But anyway, so I kind of fell into this thing where I accidentally, you know, was like, oh, I'll try a few jazz lessons. I didn't really have a direction. It was like I kind of wanted to take some lessons. And I mean, and I finally, this was years ago, but for the first time ever, I went through like blue bossa, Autumn Leaves, certain things, and I did it in every fucking key. And and he was like, "Oh, you will break down, and you will cry, and it'll be." I mean, it's like melting your brain. It's just like it's a lot if that's not the world you come from. If you're I'm in this mode and that mode kind of key change here, nothing major. So it's a whole different universe, man. And you're right. I think you have to understand that aspect of it before you even put your toe in that pond, in a way, right?
No, I like all that. I like how you said you played those tunes, and two of those are ones I played. You learn it and you played in every key, right? And like I said, it's melting your brain. And when I was doing all the things you are, that was something Grissom told me this, because he can play some jazz, but it's not like a big thing to him. And he was kind of talking about a guy that was, once again, a philosophy of him. People want to learn all these things really quickly, but what you need to do to learn jazz is just pick a tune and then play it in every key, inside, out, play it. Then it's the only tune you play for a month, and then see where you're at. So yeah, that makes sense.
What are some of the other jazz standards you're comfortable with?
So I guess Scrapple from the Apples, like a Charlie Parker tune. Impressions, which is that John Coltrane tune. Autumn Leaves and Blue Bossa, they're ones. Emily always laughs when I play Blue Bossa because I'll mess with it on the real iReal app, and it has this count off. Don't. And it's dun, 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 and she's just like, God.
A month of that.
Sorry, no. Yeah. But let me look at. I got my list here.
Things you are.
So
have you ever tackled the old Coltrane Giant Steps?
No, I mean I've looked at that and listened to that, but no. I've kind of talked to some dudes about it, but all blues, Autumn Leaves, Blue Bossa, Scrapple, all blues, Impressions, Oleo, all the things you are, Girlfriend, Blue and Green, Blue Monk, Fly Me to the Moon, and Body and Soul were some ones I was working on more recently. Straight No Chaser, that was this Masquerade, Rose Room. Anyway.
And I love Thelonious Monk, dude. And Blue Monk's pretty straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to play some of the chill ones, right?
Yeah. One time I went to this resort thing with a friend in Jamaica, and they had a big everyone was eating or whatever, and they had the house band that played every night and everything. And I got up there, and back then I was always like taking a guitar everywhere and talking to musicians. So I was like, oh man, yeah. And so anyway, I got up on stage and played Thrill Is Gone with them. Shit, I used to play that at Giddy Ups all the time. I'm sure we played it together, and it's like my super go-to song. And I played that, and they were like, man, that was great. Yeah, you want to just stay on stage and play? I'm like, yeah. And then, dude, like everything else was jazz, and it was like one of the worst. I was just like a deer in headlights that entire fucking show, like so lost and just, you know what I mean? Like talk about sink or swim, and you're just like, okay, I'm going to find the little bit I can to kind of just comp a little bit. And then, yeah, geez, dude, like, it's just not, it's like such a different thing. You cannot fucking wing it, man. You're you either know what's going on or you're fucked.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's kind of, I guess my wanting to learn some jazz is that if I ever have to do it, I'll be able to hang a little bit better. That's it. But once again, yeah, I'll never be wanting to play jazz gigs full time. It just doesn't speak to me enough to want to be that. And I kind of just want to be that musical chameleon that I can do a little bit of everything. So
yeah, I hear that. That back to the SRV clones, and I don't want to badmouth like anyone, because like honestly, like there's guys that play circles around me in that genre and that style, and I suck, or I suck in that aspect. But I feel like it's an ADD thing for me. Like I really love bouncing all over the place and playing all kinds of different shit, because it keeps me like on my toes musically, and it keeps it fun and exciting. I think I get kind of like, it just keeps me inspired, right? Do you feel that way? Like, do you like bouncing around a lot because you feel like it just kind of keeps you musically interested?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I was trying to do with Ernie towards the end there was we'd play a set at the beginning of the show, right, before guests. And so try and think of every song we do has to be of a different genre. So that, okay, we're gonna do a funk tune, then this one's gonna be a country tune, this one, and then every week I wanted to do a jazz standard with them to start playing those songs right live. And then Chris would pick one that's like a kind of a cumbia beat or something, or um a R&B tune. And so yeah, just being able to do that, it makes you play differently, and then you don't feel like you're repeating yourself, and it doesn't become stale, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because I feel like a lot of times now, like for me, if I pick up the guitar, I'm like, well, I'm just doing what I do, and I'm bored with myself. I like I used, like when you're young, I'm sure like you just want to like play and improvise all the time, right? You can't get enough. You could just play. I could play over like backing tracks, or back then over whatever Joe Satriani tune for hours. Now, if I do that for like 5 minutes, I'm like, God, I'm so bored. I was always more of that kind of guy where I didn't go work out as much stuff. And nowadays I think I enjoy sitting down and working things out, because I'm like learning new specific things that kind of will maybe seep into how I play, as opposed to just me going like, well, here's me playing my same old stuff that's boring to me now, not me just never seen you, but to you, it's like, ugh.
That's a really good point. And working out stuff does bring some freshness. And it's also nice to know, like, oh, I'm going to play this. And if you can really play a badass and present it, you'll kick ass. And like, that'll be awesome, And then, so I like to have a little bit of pockets for improv, but also I do like working things out. And that way you have a clear cut goal in mind when you're playing. It makes it a little easier to get into the zone sometimes.
Right. Yeah. What do you think on that, Vic?
Agreed, 100%. I'll be happy just to play some chords without screwing them up, do chord transitions. So that's what I'm working on.
You got a cool Les Paul back there, it looks like.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And Taylor 314, the cutaway.
Damn. That's what I kind of wanted. When I was looking at the callings, I kind of really wanted a Taylor too. It was a hard call.
Yeah, I got that years ago, and it was not cheap. But yeah, I like them. I need to play more. I need to try. I need to practice. Is what I need to do. So
you gotta do like Will, man. You gotta do like Will. You just like, well, I have a gig. I guess I have to play now. there was no option for you to not play. You had to play.
I go down to Jamaica and try and play some jazz, right? Take the guitar with me.
Nice, man.
I mean, for somebody who I would say is still a beginner, like a guitar player, I do like, and I have heard, try to play the melody. And I think that's a fantastic practice. And it's something that I tried doing, or I started doing a while back, and I want to pick that up. Thanks for reminding me. But I think that is a really good way to not get frustrated and not get so freaked out on trying to make sure that your fingers are in the right spots and doing chord transitions. Just try to play along with the melody and get the melody down. I think that just eases, just being able to play along with just some really basic chords after you do that. So.
Yeah, you got to keep people like, it's got to be like a mixture of like, all right, I know these things that I'm working towards and goals and technical things, but if you can't have some sort of enjoyment, the odds of you getting there is going to be far less. So I think it's definitely a balance of keeping yourself inspired, and like those little moments can really, like, even for me, like in that jazz world, it's like, I say jazz loosely, but just learning a few new voicings and approaches that I never thought of for like a 2-5-1 or something, where I was like, holy shit. And that just became something super fun for me to do when and so it's like, even though the process of like putting some whole big song together was slow, like I had these little things that I was able to grab onto and start incorporating into my playing, which was like really cool. So I think you got to take those little moments. I was going to ask you, Will, best gig, worst gig. I mean, you've played thousands, but like, I want to hear like, what's a Will Knaak gig disaster story?
Oh man. Okay. Well, yeah, that's actually not too, this one pops to mind. So Knaak Attack, we went down to College Station and we're going to play at Shotzi's. And my buddy who played rhythm guitar with Johnny Solinger was going to school at A&M at the time. And so he booked us to go down there. And then, so it was terrible anyway, because we probably weren't going to get paid, but we found that out after. So that just adds salt. But on stage, I'd been coked up all night, and so I hadn't slept. And Chance, the guy who was the rhythm guitar player for Johnny, he opened up on acoustic, and then we played, and then he wanted us to play LaGrange for all his college buddies. Well, so we had never worked that up with Silas, as funny as that is. So Silas is like, no, we never rehearsed. We ain't playing it. And he was kind of pissed at me for being all coked up. He could tell, you know. And so he was just like shouting at me like, no, fuck you, man. I'm not going to play. And I was like,
on stage,
just play the fucking song. We're just like cussing at each other. And I'm lucky he didn't punch me in the face. But yeah, after that, that's yeah, no money either. And that sucked.
Even got
that
your,
one sucked.
That your daughter.
Yeah, you even got her crying. So, and then best gig, it's hard to say, but last year I for some reason the Moscow show was really, really special. Just that's the farthest I've been away from home ever. And 3,000 Russians just going crazy. And there's a song, Say It, of Blue October that wasn't necessarily a hit over here, but for whatever reason, I guess there's not really a way to track it because the Russian radio, it doesn't report the same way. But at some point, that was like one of the biggest songs in Russia for a small amount of time back in, the early 2000s or 06, 07, when that was all coming out. And we ripped into that song, and they're just like going apes. Like, what? Whoa. I guess there's a bunch of them that would fit in there, but I'm just gonna go with the two off the top of my head. There we go.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask, kind of circling back to that whole touring Europe, Eastern, Western Europe. We had a guy on here that was talking about the differences, the way the crowd acts when you're touring in Europe versus the US. Have you noticed, like, just, are they more receptive, or is it a totally different vibe with those guys? Because I think he found a lot more success, or it seems like people in Europe were a lot more, I don't know what's the word, happy, a lot more receptive. Yeah, compared to like maybe touring in the US. So I was just curious, just kind of what you've seen.
No, even the first time I went over there, like, I guess coming up 13 years ago, went over to play some shows in Switzerland, and they're just all really engaged and receiving it and ready for it. Where you might play some of these things. So it wasn't like Pauline Reese wasn't a super big name act or anything, and we're playing this festival and then playing some club dates, and but they were just all about it. And there was, way more attentive and receptive, and maybe respecting the process where, it can be just kind of, you play a bar gig and people are trying to talk over you, and it's like they're shouting over you because the music's loud. It's just awkward, you're like, what the hell?
Playing during their football. Speaking of College Station, man, if you go on a game day or something, fuck that, dude. Or like your whole gig will depend on the outcome of a football game. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, they lose. Everyone's pissed off, stays home.
Who was the guitar player that you mentioned? Did you say he was playing for Johnny Solinger? That was your buddy in College Station?
Chance is his name. I don't know. He doesn't play as much anymore. Chance Nutzi.
Okay, maybe it's not the guy I'm thinking of.
So yeah, he was just playing acoustic guitar. I kind of got him the gig, and Johnny didn't play any acoustic guitar or any guitar. He just sang. So we needed a dude. I was like, all right, let's get Chance. Let's try it. And it kind of worked out. He did harmony vocals and sang, or played acoustic.
Did you know? Did you mention, was it Randy Rogers earlier? Who did you play? Is it? I want to say the guy's name was Matt Baker. I could be wrong. Guitar player that played with him. Am I right? Do you know that guy by any chance? Great guitar player. Lived in College Station, or Brian?
Yeah, that's actually he played with Roger Krager.
Krager. Okay, that's who.
But yeah, dude, that guy's unreal.
Yeah, I won't even tell this story because it makes me sick. Like, well, not really, but it's embarrassing. I was in college. I met Matt through this disastrous event for me, but it's like I think I had come off of something. I had driven down there and I was tired and I just was like, had no interest. I was like, and my cousin was like, dude, there's this Guitar Hero thing. Go do it. And I'm like, not prepared. Didn't have anything. So I just get up and it's it's this combination of like some good guitar players, Matt, which was like stratosphere by better than anyone else in the bar a zillion times over. And then some guys playing Dave Matthews song for their frat buddies and they ended up winning kind of thing. And I got up there and was just like, well, I'll just whatever. But what happened was, so I'm kind of doing this and I'm in my head going like, oh, this sucks so bad. I don't want to be doing this. I hate like Battle of the Bands and all that kind of shit anyway. Right. And I'm doing this dumb solo, whatever. And I'm on this stage, which is kind of elevated. I forget what the venue was. You'd probably know, but I'm doing my wah pedal. Right. And I did something where I stepped on my wah pedal and it slid on this like dusty floor, unplugged the cable, went flying off the front of the stage. So I just stand there in front of all these people with my cable, like, bzzz, I'm just like, well, later, thanks. Yeah. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. Horrible, embarrassing piece of shit.
I get it.
But then Matt Baker got up there and like actually, I think he went right before me. And I was like, that's why I was like so demoralized. I was like, fuck. But I ended up talking to that guy. He's a cool motherfucker and a great guitar player. Cause I think he was doing some jazzy country stuff that was just like sick. And then he was like, cool, now we're going to get nasty with it or whatever. And then he played fucking Eruption. I was like, this guy lives in College Station. What the fuck? You know, like.
He's a cop now.
Yeah.
Policeman, he quit playing guitar.
Crazy, man.
I mean, I guess he probably still plays because you're never going to forget when you're that good.
Yeah. I could not. When you said, I knew it wasn't, but for some reason that made me think of that when you brought up College Station.
Yeah, the first time I saw them, it was when I was with Angela Peterson. We did some shows with Krager and saw that dude play. I was just like, dang.
Yeah, man. Shit, brother. Anything you want to add? What's so when's I mean, like you said, mid 2021, maybe you'll be back out on the road, depending.
Yeah. We've got a shed tour potentially in the works, and with another band, a package tour with the Goo Goo Dolls is what they're saying. So that would be interesting. That'd be a trip.
Okay.
And then straight into a headlining tour. And all of this is, you just have to wait and see. I talked to our manager about it the other day. And he's like, I don't know if I can nothing's completely confirmed because of COVID, but this is what we've got in the works. Everything's kind of moving that direction. So that's what we're planning for. And I don't know. I think it's a lot more hopeful than the things we had slated all this year that kept getting pushed. And
of course,
it's like we were finally waiting long enough. The vaccine will be there. And
right.
I mean, people are going to have to tour by the summer or those businesses are going under. So, but yeah, trying to get back to work, trying to do it. Just being dad.
That's silver lining, man. At least you got that. And I mean, and you've been able to go out to Orb and work. So are you guys, is Blue October have some new music that they're looking to put out to coincide with this stuff next year then too? Or where's that at?
Well, we just released a record. It came out last month. So,
oh geez. Well, sorry for not doing homework.
No, it's okay. We'll probably be,
something else out pretty recently, right?
Huh?
You put something else out earlier or last year or earlier this year?
Me or Blue October?
Blue October. I thought there was an EP or something.
There was we did a live in Manchester record.
Okay.
That was cool. Yeah, live in England.
This stuff that you just put out, has that been going on this year then?
The stuff we just put out, we recorded at the beginning of this year before COVID. Yeah.
Okay.
But we just released it. They released singles and there's a whole method to it that, I just play guitar. So, but they're like, yeah, you give songs enough time, people get their full attention before releasing the full album.
Okay,
but the full record's out. I'm sure we'll try and tour on those songs. So one of the songs went to the top 10 on the alt Billboard. It was Oh My. So even without being able to get out there and do it, there was some good radio response, but just what a weird deal, man.
Oh,
releasing a record and not able to go tour behind it. But.
Well,
there's Mrs. Claus.
He's like still on that goddamn podcast.
No, man, it's just good to see you. And I always loved your playing and always loved hanging out with you, man. So
likewise, dude. I mean, I will say one thing, and I brought this up several times on the podcast with this whole COVID thing that's happened is, you know, the last few years I've kind of like really started playing on a bunch of different projects, which has been great, but I haven't really minded being at home and like just doing a lot of kind of remote stuff, but also starting this podcast. It's been really cool to like give it an opportunity to just talk to people like yourself and like a bunch of people that they may know but haven't seen in years, or people that I've never really met that know of, and just kind of talk. It's just been awesome, man. Just talking with various people and catching up. And this is like definitely not something, like I said, like there's no way we would have ever been able to sit down at a bar and have a conversation. You're like, dude, I have like 26 seconds before I have to get to like the bus or my next gig or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's nice to just be able to chat.
No, agreed, man. I really appreciate you asking me to do it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for making the time. We appreciate it. Well, and we got to meet your daughter.
Yeah.
And little Nova.
Stories. Yeah, dude. Yeah. So, well, and you've got, so obviously you're playing with Blue October. That's a huge thing. Everybody knows Blue October. You've got willknaak.com though, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. willknaak.com, at willknaak at Instagram, blah, 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 all that fun stuff. It's K and AAK. So there's not many knacks. So it's pretty easy to find me on the internet.
Right. And Will Knaak Day, May 21st.
24th. Close enough though.
I don't know what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna go start telling. I mean, every year I'm just gonna like be like, today's Will Knaak Day. Okay. Go look him up, goddammit. It's his day.
Come on.
Some fucking respect. Oh, and I'll talk to the guys at Collings and say that you said that I could just pop on in there and
grab a couple of guitars.
Yeah, for sure. No problem.
Really, the whole reason I had you on here is like, sweet, now I can use Will's name for stuff.
Yeah, no, you got it, man.
You use so I can call them and be like, oh, Will's my bestie. He said, just send me Les Paul.
Exactly. I hope it works like that.
Yeah.
Dude,
Look, I got his number.
I'll say one thing, man. You know, Gibson was, man, I had heard things about filing for bankruptcy and issues with this and that. Blah, blah. New CEO, I guess, new turnover, revamping the company. Unfortunately, COVID has happened this year. But I was fortunate enough to, you know, I've gone out and done NAMM show stuff many times with a few different companies. But we played the Gibson stage this year. Holy shit, man. That was just incredible. Have you guys done any? Have you ever done that? The NAMM stuff?
I've never done NAMM.
I was on tour.
I haven't. I did the summer session here one time. They had it in Austin.
Oh yeah.
Long time ago.
7 or something. Yeah.
I just went, but yeah, never haven't done it. Ernie loves it. But
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I've seen Ernie out there before. But I mean, this was like, and I've been out there a bunch, but like to actually do that and everything that company's doing, and they're just knocking it out of the park, man. And all the artists are getting on there, and the you know, the lounge, they took care of the artists so well. And just like, for me, I was like, oh man, cool. I finally got like a little taste, like, all right, cool. I'm like hanging out in the buffet line with Adam Jones and, you know, fucking Jerry Cantrell. All right, sweet. I can die now, I guess.
JC, man. Yeah.
Dude, man. I know, right? Just so many fun. Well, and there's the perfect example. I think like I was like one of those guys, maybe you were the same, where the big Zakk Wylde influence and all. I still love all these guys and all the, you know, not Eddie Van Halen. I mean, I love Eddie Van Halen, but Dimebag and Randy Rhoads and Megadeth and whatever. And I'd play on a song that sounded like Jack Johnson. I'm sitting there playing 16th note triplet Zakk Wylde licks over, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. And that comes back to the like serve the song, like learning what fits. It, you know, it's like context, man. And it's nice when you're at a place where you're like, there's no like real need to prove anything. You just play what you think fits with what you're playing. I think that's the best place you want to get, you know?
Yeah, no, that's it. I agree with that. And I think we all have to go through that though. And just, it comes with age, maturity, and doing it a bunch. And then you feel that's what works. Yeah.
That's why
and not feeling you need to prove yourself is important too. Yeah.
We did that 15 years ago at Giddy Ups when we both pulled our cocks out and we're like, oh yeah, finger tap this one.
Yeah, no, for sure. But that was fun.
Yeah, man, it's great times, dude. Well, shit, brother. We won't. I could keep on talking. I mean, Vic never shuts up, so we'll be here all night. But
never.
Man, we'll let you get back to your family, get to your daughter. Awesome catching up with you, brother. We'll we'll chat here for a sec afterwards and post this, and I'll let you know when it's up and all that kind of good stuff.
All right, thanks, brother. Y'all have a good one. Thanks for having me.
Will Knaak, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for hanging with us, man.
Peace, brother.
Later.
Feel like a stranger rolling on a fast train. Feel like a killer on the loose. Blood and tracks gonna keep me rolling. Blood and tracks keep me from that noose. Hiding from the law and running with the devil. Got no friends to call my own. Lost my lover, left her behind me. Got nobody, take me home. Won't you try to understand? I said all in all, I'm just a man. Life never goes the way we planned. Our time just footsteps in the sand. Be a good man, had a heart back then. Used to be someone you could see. Used to have something better than nothing. Used to be someone set me free. Won't you try to understand? I said all in all, I'm just a man. Life never goes the way we planned. Our time just footsteps in the sand. Life on the road ain't no way easy. Life on the road gonna wear you down. Flying so high above the world now. Flying so high, never touch the ground. Won't you try to understand? I said all in all, I'm just a man. Life never goes the way we planned. Our time just footsteps in the sand.